Hi folks, Tris here, producer of Modem Prometheus. I'm so excited to present Season 3 and our new voice of the city, friend and colleague, Gina Sneesby. Thanks everyone for your patience during our year-long hiatus, and thanks especially to all of you who have joined our Patreon. We don't run ads, so the whole podcast is supported by you. If you'd like to help out, head over to patreon.com/Modem Prometheus. Members get free merch, early access, bonus episodes, and a lot more exciting stuff. Today's story is called Digging In, and is about holes.
The workmen were outside your house again last night. You could hear the thump, thump, thump of pickaxe striking tarmac as you tried to sleep, ringing like a wind chime, steady as a church bell. You stared at the dark ceiling, cast in faint streetlight yellow, and counted the blows like sheep. Earplugs had not worked. Every impact sent vibrations through the walls and shook both the window pane and your beaten bones. When they finally stopped, you got up and went to look out on the street. The city was a dark mass. You saw the muted red lights of the transmitter mast, the deeper darkness of the growing collection of satellite dishes on the university roof, the strange glow over the island. The workmen were there, in their hard hats and high-vis jackets, stood around the hole with their heads bowed. Their hands were clasped in front of them, as if in prayer. When you finally slept, you dreamt of a city beneath the city, of a mass of life and tendrils dragging its way towards the surface, ready to burst through asphalt and paving slab like a bloody, ichor-wrapped crocus. But you do not remember this. Probably for the best, if I'm being honest. There is no hole when you leave the house the next morning. No cones, no plastic fences blocking the road. Instead, there is a growth of tarmac over where the hole was, twisted and out of alignment with the road around it. It does not look fresh. It is the same dusty, rubber-beaten grey as the rest of the street. You shrug. You do not understand modern construction techniques. The day is overcast, and for a second you think maybe the roads are not dusty, rubber-beaten grey. Maybe they are water. Maybe they are canals, crystal and pure. You live in a place where water taxis cut lines of spray under cobbled bridges, and what you see is just the reflection of the industrial sky. But that only lasts a second. The sky is overcast, and the ground is overcast, as it always was, as it always shall be. You wait for the number 81 bus at a stop outside a small supermarket. You recognise some of the people here. There is a girl with the green hair flicking through her phone. There is the young man with the combat jacket studded with socialism badges. There is the old man in the suit and fedora, lemon-sucked lips pulled tight as his spine. You do not speak to them. You have never spoken to any of them. Your office is in a small retail park, which the bus stops slightly too far away from. The building is wide and squat and clearly used to be something else. You're not sure what. Maybe a school. Maybe the teenagers in their hoodies and face masks who hang out in the car park do so because they remember when they came here to learn, to grow. You have heard some people complain about them, say the building security should clear them out. You do not agree, because there is no building security. They are as much the furniture of the place as the potted plants placed in the office corners. Your computer lights up as you approach. It, at least, is happy to see you. You move paper for a few hours. This is a lie. There is no paper. Everything is digital now. Database records and spreadsheet rows. But the point is the same. You have 2 boxes. One of them contains information. Over the course of your day, you move it to the other one. At some point overnight, the second box will be emptied, and the first box will be refilled. Sometimes, you're fairly certain, it is the same information, given a bit of a shuffle to keep it interesting. There are records which you are convinced you've refiled 5 times. You do not question this. To do so may make people realise that this job is not a job at all. And while it may not provide satisfaction, it does, in at least some small quantity, provide money. You would rather be Sisyphus than unemployed. The bus home is cancelled. The bus home is always cancelled. You are prepared for this. You brought a book. When you eventually reach home, the workmen are setting up again, placing their barriers around the patch that looks like scar tissue. You are blinded by the lights on their helmets, by their high-vis jackets. You pause to watch them, briefly. It is strangely beautiful, a council-run ballet. "What are you doing?" you ask. One of the workmen turns to you. "Gas main," he says. "Got to reroute it at the junction here down a different track." You nod, as if you understand. You find a letter waiting when you get in. It is from your bank. You can tell by the way the envelope is sealed with melted gold. Your rent was due, it says. You did not have enough money in your account. But, it says, do not worry. You have been a loyal customer for years. We have your back, it says. We have automatically provided an unarranged overdraft. Your landlord's debts have been paid. Of course, it says, now you owe us. You dream of an eye, hidden by clouds. An eye full of teeth and stars and fear. An eye supported on a trunk of fibre-optic filaments that spin out into every home and hook into the brains of every sleeping and waking soul. You dream of fishhooks, tugging nerve endings. You dream of the eye, feasting on the vibrations. You don't remember this, either. The number 81 bus is delayed. This is less regular than the cancellation on the way home again. The city's machinery is usually more efficient in this direction. Still, it is not perfect. Or maybe it is. Maybe every piece of grit is there by design. The man in the suit and fedora mutters under his breath. Something about the country going to hell. Badges scowls up the road, squinting as if that will make a bus resolve from the other traffic. The girl with the green hair keeps scrolling her phone. Serene. You wish you had her zen. You wonder if you should walk instead. There is a moment, a pivotal moment, a slice of liminal time when walking instead of waiting will not be the best decision. But you cannot tell when it will happen, or if it has already passed. You live in an uncertain world, the only constants being death, taxes, and the lingering feeling that the thing you just did was wrong. When you eventually reached the office, you did wait, ended up being half an hour late, still not sure if your travel plans were optimal. You find that the paper has already been moved. The records are sorted. You check your emails, but there are none. You wonder if the computer got bored of waiting for you. You bring up a spreadsheet, add some data into columns, take out a notebook and write things down to make it look like you're being productive. It is surprisingly hard to keep this up for 9 hours. When you get home, the workmen are there again. They have already ripped into the road and a faint pale light emanates from the hole. Sparkles drift up from it slowly like little drunken fireflies, like glittering pollen before dying out a few feet into the air. Is that gas? You ask, alarmed at the thought of a leak right outside your front door. The workman shakes his head. Fibre, he says. The flow of information became constricted. We have to implement a bypass. Bypass, the workmen behind him say in unison, nodding as they look into the hole. Oh, you say. That sounds bad. Aye, it could be, the workman says. The system is fragile. One little twist in the wrong place and the data can't flow. The pressure builds and builds until the whole thing bursts, like an aneurysm. He smacks his lip, relishing the word. Aneurysm, the other workmen say, in lilting chorus. There is no food in your cupboards. The fridge hums, but it is bare as a waiting coffin. You needed food, you remember. You were going to get some. You forgot. Or maybe it just didn't seem important. Your stomach tightens. It seems important now. The workmen watch you as you leave. All but the talkative one remain staring at the tarmac, but still their heads turn to match your progress. The talkative one reaches out his hand as you pass, as if beckoning, before turning it into a salute. You wonder, what if we're the ones in the hole, and they're trying to dig us all out? There is a corner shop not far away. The man behind the counter looks bored, but nervous, eyes flicking from one corner of the store to the other. You wonder what he thinks is hiding there. You pick up some basics. You don't bother with the basket. There's a danger you'd fill it. The man at the counter rings up your items, all the while keeping one eye on the exits. You hand him your card. You haven't been paid yet, but hopefully the bank still has your back. The little machine is taking longer than usual. The man behind the counter frowns at the processing circle. He's a shaver, you notice, but he hasn't done so for a few days. His cheeks are spattered with stubble. The machine beeps. Approved. You smile at him. He does not return it. He still does not trust you. On your way home, you hear a cough from the darkness of an alleyway. You pause instinctively, but force yourself not to look. You're about to walk on when a voice says, "Wait a minute, friend." You see movement in the dark, as if something large just compressed itself into a new shape. And then your bank manager walks from the shadows, wearing a 3-piece blue pinstripe suit, a pale shirt and a primrose yellow tie with a double Windsor knot. He looks at the items you're carrying. "Nice eggs you've got there," he says. "Yes," you agree. It seems best. "I hope they're worth what we paid for them." "I'm sure they will be," you say, and then add, "Thank you." "Oh, not at all, not at all. We're friends, aren't we?" And friends help each other. He drapes a surprisingly cold arm over your shoulder, companionable, but also constricting. With his other hand, he pushes an envelope into your pocket. "Now I wonder if there's something you could do for me. It's a small thing, very small, a favour. You could do us a favour, can't you? That's the kind of thing friends do, isn't it?" He looks at you with eyes like icebergs. "And I wouldn't want to think we're not friends." When you get home, the workmen are sat in a circle around the hole. The talkative one has a shovel on his lap and is running a sharpening stone across the edge. Shink, shink, shink. You cook some instant noodles and scrambled egg and read what your bank manager gave you. It's a glossy leaflet. "So you're in our debt." It contains instructions to leave negative reviews on a range of companies. You haven't heard of some of them, but you do it anyway. You notice there are a lot of bad reviews for these companies. You wonder what they did wrong. You dream of icebergs and a sinking ship. Your alarm does not go off. Of course not. It is the weekend. You are not a monster. You spend most of the day trying to make a budget spreadsheet. Money in, money out. Classified expenses. You do not wish to remain in the bank's debt. When they run out of use for you, they may not be so friendly. Your rooms, the small bedroom, the bathroom with the creeping black in the corners, the living room with the little kitchenette, feel cold, empty, too quiet. You wonder if you should get a cat. More money, though. You don't entirely know where it's going now. You go out, to the park. It is still overcast. It is always overcast. Someone has placed a sticker on a bench that says the climate isn't changing, they are controlling it. You think it's probably right, and wonder idly about the feel of sunlight or the taste of rain. When you return, the workmen are gathered around the hole. It has not been covered up in recent days, you realise. It has remained gaping and open, the tarmac around the edge ragged and glistening. The talkative one doesn't wait for you to ask this time. "Lymph," he says. "We're cutting the flow of lymph. It carries the antibodies, the oxygen, and we want it stopped." He kneels down, reaching into the hole. His hand comes out covered in a sticky, clear fluid that forms dangling strings between his fingers before falling heavy as honey. You are waiting for the 81 bus. This has come as a bit of a surprise. You thought weekends were 2 days long. But your alarm went off, and that only means one thing. You spent 5 minutes looking for your cat before realising you had only dreamt about the cat. The girl with the green hair says, "I didn't see you yesterday." You say, "It was Saturday." She tilts her head and twists her mouth, unfamiliar with the concept. Your computer dings brightly when you reach your desk. There are a lot of emails to go through. One of them is from the bank. It says, "The completion of your task was adequate. Of the initial £1,176.85 loan, you now only owe £1,248.93. We will be in touch to discuss a payment plan. We know where you work. We know where you live. We will have what we are owed." You move data through columns for a while, before a message arrives asking you to see the manager in her office. "Where the hell were you yesterday?" she asks. "At home," you say. "At home? Were you ill?" "No." "So why weren't you here? You think you can only work the days you want to work?" "It was Saturday." "So yes, then." She shakes her head. "You don't turn up. You show no shame about it. And all your work was completed even though you weren't here." You look back at your computer, which sits there, innocently. She begins to type. "I think it's obvious there's not a position here for you anymore." You return to your desk and begin packing your things. You notice as you do so that all the data has been moved to the correct columns while you were away. Your computer dings, smugly. On the bus home, you wonder how long the bank will remain friendly. The hole in the road is a damp scar. It shivers as you walk past, and you find yourself staring in. You are waiting when the workmen show up. The talkative one does not need to ask the question. He approaches you with a hard hat, a gleaming shovel and a high-vis vest. You put on the hat, the vest. You walk up to the hole in the centre of the workmen, who wait with a reverent hush. You tap the shovel experimentally onto the road surface. It rings like a call to prayer. You feel yourself smile. You place your foot onto the shovel and push, and it cuts into the tarmac like flesh.
Modem Prometheus is written by Neil Murton, the voice of the city is Gina Sneesby, with music and production by me, Tris Oaten. For free merch, bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content, support us at patreon.com/Modem Prometheus. If you're not ready for that kind of commitment, please rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this right now. Our next episode is due on the Moon of Lights, the 4th of December, or for patrons today. And remember, we all run for our holes when the light starts to burn.